on that drive, Nicole?
We were definitely excited. I was in a car with Josh, as I mentioned before, who was our pilot for Crew 5, and we had a music playlist that we listened to. But we picked too many songs, so we had to kind of like rush through to the next song. So we wanted to get all those songs in. We had some songs that kind of hype you up, some songs that had some like special, personal meaning to us, and then a couple songs that just as a crew, something that we really enjoyed together. Too many songs, so we had to kind of like rush through to the next song.
Speaking of music, both Butch and Sunny obviously wanted to have some music to get them in the mindset as well. Butch said epic movie songs, which I'm sure doesn't surprise you. His phone has, he said, over 300 epic movie songs. And then Sunny has said she's more of a country pop kind of gal. So Sunny obviously wanted to have some music to get them in the mindset as well. Butch said epic movie songs, which I'm sure doesn't surprise you. His phone has
focused on launch and the upcoming mission, but the ride over gives you just a chance to kind of kick back and reflect a little bit about all the work that's gone into preparing for this moment, all the teams of folks that have been working hard to make sure that this launch is as safe as feasibly possible, and then also to reflect
17 minutes
on your family and what a critical component they are to this mission.
Seems there might have been a slight delay, but now everybody is back in, and we are off. NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams now en route to Cape Canaveral Space Force Station's Launch Pad 41 with a full security escort. A beautiful aerial shot there to show you the convoy that will take them to their launch pad. Now, I remember, Dee, you said that inside there's a TV in there, and of course we wanted to know what the astronauts will be watching while on their ride to their pad, and we found out they'll of Sunny back in the day. And that particular movie has significance to her because she said when she first got into the Navy, she thought about being a diver, but then she watched the first Top Gun movie, and she decided to go to flight school. So she ended up being a helicopter pilot, right, Nicole?
That is awesome. That's a great picture. I have not seen that one before.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunny was a helicopter pilot and a test pilot, and is still a wonderful pilot today. She actually flies a lot of general aviation as well.
Mm-hmm. And then we have a picture of Butch, of course. Fun fact, he was actually a real Top Gun pilot. And Dee, you mentioned Chris Ferguson, a retired astronaut. He's on the far right. Talk to us again about him and the fact that he, too, was a Top Gun pilot.
That is correct. He
LC Slick on Channel 1.
Go ahead.
Crew transport convoy is en route to LC-41. Estimated arrival to the roadblock is about L minus, I would say, 3:05.
Roger. OSM, LC.
Yo, what's up, chat?
Crew transport convoy is en route to pad. Permit entry into FHA.
Roger.
What is good, feller? How are we doing?
So as you hear there, obviously comm checks of the crew, letting teams know that the crew is on their way. And yes, Megan, as you mentioned, Chris Ferguson was a former Top Gun pilot. He is obviously a retired NASA astronaut, but he did work for Boeing. As we mentioned, he assisted us greatly with Starliner, helped design the NASA astronaut suits, and he shared many of his stories from his Top Gun days, if you will, and we enjoyed hearing them. So I love that they all have that to share.
And as we watch the convoy make their way across Kennedy Space Center here, let's check back in with NASA's Brandy Dean and Boeing's Jim May, who are monitoring things at Mission Control in Houston.
Thanks, Megan. It's great seeing Butch and Sunny on their way to the launch pad. We gave them a good send-off here when they left Houston on April 25th as well. The teams at Johnson Space Center lined the road to Ellington Airfield.
Grinding some SQL? What is that?
They drove
like actual SQL, like the SQL language?
Things have been going smoothly for the flight control team and mission control Houston. The team here took control of Starliner a little less than an hour ago, and they've been working smoothly through a number of the steps in their pre-launch checklist. One of the first things they did after coming on console was a weather briefing with the crew in crew quarters still. That was a quick conversation, though, as the weather is looking very good for today's launch opportunity.
The team here in Houston is continuing to work through their pre-launch checklist, although right now they're working in more of a monitor
Let's go.
mode,
That's
keeping
fire.
the spacecraft stable while Butch and Sunny head to the pad. Then the teams at Kennedy Space Center prepared a Starliner for their arrival. So once the crew gets strapped into their seats and the hatches closed,
What's the first ZB you're going to create?
Back up a little bit as we
What's like the first
cabin checks,
database you want to work on?
monitor Starliner's life support systems, hosting the crew for the
Like
first
your
time in
stock
space.
entries and exits?
Yeah, and then in the last 20 minutes before launch, there are a few important actions they'll work through, switching Starliner to internal power and working with the crew to activate the launch abort system.
This carefully choreographed pre-launch process has been practiced many times as a fully integrated team, and most recently just last week with all of us sitting here in the same seats as our final set of training to prepare for Butch and Sunny's mission today.
By to give us an update. Rob?
Thanks, Brandy. Well, Mission Control is buzzing tonight with the White Flight Control Room down the hall, poised to take over Starliner mission operations at liftoff of the Atlas V rocket. And in this room, the International Space Station Flight Control Room, we're ready to collaborate with our colleagues once Starliner moves into what are called integrated operations around 9:45 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night. Leak checks on both sides
let's
of
go.
the
Roulette,
Starliner
type a
docking
chat
interface
comment.
before the
This
hatches
chat
will
bot
swing open,
will
allowing
mix
Butch Wilmore
both
and Sonny
Twitter
Williams to enter the
and
station, which has been home for both of
and Twitch comments, I think.
for a typical safety briefing. That will be conducted by Station Commander Ale Kononenko
Yeah,
of
look.
Roscosmos.
On my screen now, you
Starliner
can
crew will
see.
transfer equipment to the station from their spacecraft
So
and begin
the
to
Alex
settle
is
in for
from
their visit.
Twitter.
Countdown clocks are ticking backward as we close in on the launch of this test flight. We're ready here in Houston.
I was wondering
Let's
if it
go
would
back
do
to the
both,
Cape
but yeah, it
and our
does.
continuing coverage.
Pretty dope.
Thank you, Rob. All right, we are now 3 hours, 10 minutes, and counting from only the 6th time NASA astronauts will launch on a new spacecraft designed for crew. If you're curious about the first 5 crewed test flights, here they are. Apollo 7, Wally Schirra, Don Isley, Walt Cunningham, October 11th, 1968.
Then you have STS-1 with astronauts John Young and Robert Crippen, which launched on April 12th, 1981.
And then NASA's SpaceX Demo 2 mission, Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken, May 30th, 2020.
Bro, what's up with the fucking stream? Wait, the launch is in 3 hours and 10 minutes? No shit, really? I also want to watch Ryan Garcia and Vitaly catching predators tonight. That's just gonna be fire in 2 hours or 3 hours. Oh shit. Well, whatever. We'll probably roll. We'll probably.
Christina Cook and
I mean, they're
Space
going to the. I
astronaut
mean, yeah, that makes
Jeremy
sense.
Hansen
Oh yeah,
will
3
orbit the
hours.
moon,
Look, holy
and the Space
shit.
Launch System rocket and
Well, we're gonna be here for a
spacecraft
minute.
will be
That's for sure.
assembled in that vehicle assembly building. Let's check out what's already in work for NASA's return to the moon. Engineers inside the Neil A. Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building at
Oh, this stream is whack.
test for any electromagnetic energy that could damage Orion as it travels away from Earth. Meanwhile, the Artemis II crew completed an underway recovery test at sea. This exercise mimics Orion landing and recovery procedures when the crew splashes down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. Navy divers and boats approached a mock-up Orion capsule and helped the astronauts into helicopters, which then flew them to a nearby naval ship, just like they'll do during the mission. Back at Kennedy and high above Launch Pad 39B, this 360-degree video takes you for a ride. Safety. That's a look at your Artemis Moon Minute.
We're now 3 hours and 7 minutes away from launch. So let's check back in with Daryl Nail over at Hangar AE.
Well, thank you very much, Dee. And as we follow the convoy to the pad here, you can see the shadows on the vehicles are getting long. That's because sunset is just about 30 minutes away, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunset, and the conditions for weather are simply fantastic. It's 79 degrees outside, humidity about 70%, but we are very dry, very comfortable.
Yo, really, you gonna play games tonight?
Breeze, convection.
Done. Knocked him on the bye.
Some nice 12
in here.
Okay,
swing it.
Winds, according to
Just
the
swing
launch
it.
weather officer. Just keeping those storms at bay off in Central Florida.
Goldie right here.
I
got one.
Goes out there. The crew's getting a beautiful sunset.
Did they fix the issue, bro?
Oh my! Launch pad today. Also, want to mention that the NASA operations manager has set the triage points based on the conditions that the weather has for today, specifically the winds, those 12 to 18 knot winds forecasted at T0. That dictates where they can put the triage should there be an emergency at the pad. They needed to get crews out of there. They want to make sure that both the emergency personnel and the astronauts are safe in case of any emergencies that happen. And you saw the helicopter flying right by, and this is a shot as they continue to drive out towards Space Launch Complex 41 here. And with that, we're going to send it back to Megan.
All right, and as Butch and Sunny are almost at the launch pad, let's check back in with Lauren and Dylan as they monitor the countdown.
He's down.
Hey, Megan, as the crew has been making their way across Kennedy Space Center and over to the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station side, Space Force Station, I should say, the pad team's been inside working to prepare the inside of Starliner
for
the
crew
to arrive. We've been talking a little bit about the pad team. We've told you we also referred to them as the blue team. So if you hear us say blue team, that's who we're talking about. It's made up of 5 people from Boeing and 3 people from ULA. As the pad team is working up in the top of the crew access tower, one of the pad team members is also going to be making their way down to escort the crew up once they get there to the pad. You can see there on the left of your screen, that is what we call the white room. So we have 2 pad team members working away in the white room, and then on the back of that shot is, of course, the hatch that goes into Starliner. So that's where we will see Butch and Sunny making their way into here shortly. We're also about to see a pretty exciting moment as they arrive to the pad. They are going to be able to get a last-second look at their rocket. They will first pull over to the side of the rocket and be able to look up at it and see it in all of its glory before they take off this evening. And they've done this 3 times before. This will be their 3rd time. They've, of course, gone to space in the shuttle and as well as the Soyuz. So they know how to go through these motions, but it's a little bit different and a little bit special each time. We have heard Sunny and Butch talk a lot about this spacecraft and how much they love it for its agility. Butch, if you've heard him in some of the recent press conferences, has even joked a little bit about how he feels so lucky to be in this spacecraft and how nimble it is, because he says he could really do barrel rolls around the ISS.
LCO, sir. Go ahead.
Of course.
Yes, sir. For step 150, 26 personnel, 26 entering FHA at this time. Roger.
Of course, he would not be doing barrel rolls around the ISS, but he just likes to use that as an example of just how nimble this spacecraft is. Sunny also tells us that it is a test pilot's dream to be on this flight. She says she feels like she won the golden ticket. So it's pretty special for our teams to hear things like that. They have both been thoroughly involved with the development of Starliner, making changes along the way. They say that their fingerprints are really all over every procedure, every part of Starliner, even their spacesuits. They have been that involved in the makeup of everything. Of course, it is their goal to put Starliner through the ringer during this test flight and to prepare it for their friends who will take future rides on Starliner once we are certified and there are future missions on Starliner 1. So Dylan, the crews feel very confident with a ride to space on the Atlas, which has a 100% mission rate. They like to talk about that.
Well, Lauren, the Atlas V Starliner configuration was designed with a commitment to safety. One of the most reliable rockets in the world, Atlas V, is today carrying an extra layer of safety for its specialized duty of launching astronauts. We call that the Emergency Detection System, or EDS for short, and it was developed by ULA engineers to enhance the protection of astronauts riding on top Atlas
Slick
V.
on Channel 1.
Go ahead.
Ready for pad support personnel to perform OSE radio comm checks and proceed to ground level.
Roger.
And Lauren, as I was saying, that EDS system autonomously monitors the health of all of the launch vehicle systems during flight. If the EDS system detects an impending anomaly, it can trigger an abort faster than any human could possibly do. But the astronauts also have the capability to trigger a manual abort from inside the capsule. Along with that EDS system, we also have a dedicated ascent flight control team on console at our headquarters in Denver. During this,
this is Slick. They're exiting the white room to grab the radio now.
Okay, Roger, copy that.
Yeah, during any human spaceflight mission, this team is monitoring the health and performance of the rocket during ascent to space. The engineers will provide a real-time status and collaborate directly with NASA's flight director and mission control in Houston. When you hear the call sign Atlas, that's our ascent lead, and he'll be providing real-time telemetry data from the rocket and provide continued situational awareness. So for now, the rocket remains ready. We're just waiting on the opening of today's launch window and our astronauts. All the activity out at the pad is actually up on that crew access tower right now. As you mentioned, there are 3 ULA team members on the blue team, and they're there to manage all aspects of the crew access tower systems.
Yeah, I've been trying to fix it. I don't know what's going on with it. They're giving me some green lights.
The Boeing team's arrival
the
at the
video.
Pad. Once the crew is loaded,
The convoy has arrived at the pad gate.
Roger.
LCO, so.
Go ahead.
Crew transport vehicle has entered pad.
Roger. Crew is clear to proceed to level 12.
Roger.
Okay, we're hearing now that the crew has pulled into the pad fence line, as you can see, and they've been given clearance to go all the way up to level 12 on the CAT.
All right, as Butch and Sunny make their way up to the rocket, and we are going to see a very historic moment here, we're going to pitch it back over to Megan and Dee and Nicole. Ladies.
Thank you, Lauren and Dylan. Yeah, we just saw the Astrovan get onto the pad there. The rest of the security escort stayed behind, right, Nicole?
Yes, they stay behind, and it's just the Astrovan that goes up there to the launch
L-3
pad.
hours.
Time markers again, L-3 hours to launch. As we see Butch and Sunny and NASA astronaut Mike Fink get out of the Astrovan.
You can see Mike taking some photos there already, which is he's always great at commemorating the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure that he's very excited again to see his friends.
And this is a special moment right here when they get a chance to look at the rocket.
So Butch and Sunny walking ahead there. They're gonna take a look
Yeah,
at the
you
rocket.
heard that? They're gonna look at the
you
rocket.
See on the upper right-hand part of your screen, kind of behind the building that's there. You see the A, that is the structure
2 hours,
there
baby.
that's holding the rocket up.
Well, 3.
Again, a really wonderful moment for the two of them to take this all in.
You know, and it's amazing. You do it, it feels like 100 times in training, and maybe there's a rocket there, maybe it's not. But the day you look up and you see your spacecraft on top of that rocket and you know you're about to climb on board, it feels very different.
And this shot, it shows how massive this rocket is. It really shows the scale of just what they're about to do.
How did you feel, Nicole, when you took a look at your rocket before getting on it?
I was amazed. As you know, as Dee mentions, amazed just how massive it is. And it's just incredible to think that we as humans can come together and build something so incredible, launch humans into space, and to do it safely.
And again, this must be emotional for Mike Fink.
So
as
they
well,
went just to look at the rocket
right
and that's
after
it?
This flight, and once Starliner is certified for those continued flights,
Like,
the
was he just,
International
were they
Space
just
Station,
like,
it'll be
yo,
his
look at
turn.
that rocket?
Yeah, he and Scott Tinkle will be headed up on Starliner 1. Hopefully not too soon.
And
Big rocket energy.
They will get into the Starliner spacecraft.
And this is where Mike will leave them, as we talked about.
Hey,
He's doing
do it for
kind
the
of all
gram.
the last checks to support them. He'll hand them their helmet bags, which contain everything that they need to take into the spacecraft that they're not currently wearing.
The vehicle has arrived at the base of the CAD.
Roger.
Do it for
So
the
they'll have
gram.
their checklist, their ascent entry checklist, their chippas, of course, which are their headsets, their gloves, and then maybe a Sharpie or a pen. The crew kind of can decide what particular things that they want to have with them in their helmet bag.
And so probably that handoff is happening off camera now. Again, Fink handing off helmet bags.
LC Locks 2.
Go ahead.
For your awareness, we've just had a quick instance of some topping oscillations, and I've manned my system into a stop flow.
Roger. And so you're going to pause here for 5 minutes?
That's affirmative.
Roger. Advise when you reinitiate.
We'll go.
And you can see it looked like the blue team was actually carrying their helmet bags, and
The flight crew has entered the CAT elevator.
Roger.
they're escorting their Butch and Sunny onto the elevator.
All right. And as they close the elevator door, we will see them reappear on level 12.
Go ahead, blue team lead.
In conjunction with the topping oscillations reported, we're getting a unusual audible associated with that.
Unusual audible? What does that mean?
Roger. Locks 2, LC.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Roger.
All right,
Is there
they're just
any,
showing me a door, so.
expected venting up in that area?
Roger, I'll see.
Dude, dude, Vitali.
At the top of the OLED space, dampen out little by little. We're going to observe it for a little bit longer here, but at this time we don't see any issues with the tank health this time.
Roger. Suspecting maybe just a different sound coming out of the Centaur vent valve.
And you can hear that communication there from
Roger.
United Launch Alliance. They're, of course, monitoring all the instrumentation.
Blue team lead, LC.
Go ahead, sir.
Roger. Appreciate the
Dude has an
comment.
OnlyFans?
Advised if anything.
That's whack.
Yes, sir.
They're monitoring the instrumentation very closely, and then we'll talk
Flight
about
crew have arrived on CAT level 12.
Roger.
anything they see that is, potentially off nominal, and they will investigate, and you could hear them reporting to the rest of the control teams. They will continue to monitor, and of course, if there are any issues, they will let us know. But at this point, it sounds like they're just looking at some instrumentation.
Yeah, I believe they said something about a stop flow for maybe 5 minutes, and they'll monitor that and hopefully be resuming after those 5 minutes. And what we're seeing now is, again, pilot Sunny Williams now on level 12. So what's happening now is Butch is going to the bathroom. Very important. It's his final opportunity to go to the bathroom before launch, right, Nicole?
Yeah, and believe it or not, that is at a very important moment. You want to take that time there. And it also gives, your other crew member a chance there, like Sunny is, to look out the top of the launch tower, which is just an incredible view. You can see the wind is really ripping, as you can see Sunny's hair getting blown around, but it's a great view looking down. I'm sure that sunset over the Cape is pretty special at this point.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Dude, Cape Canaveral's so
isn't
fucking
a night
lit.
launch, because obviously at night this place is pitch dark. So it's nice to have a view from up there for them.
And you can see off to
Cape
the left
Canaveral is
there,
one of my
that
favorite
is the crew
places in
access
Florida.
arm that's
Low
headed out to
key.
the White Room. So once they're complete with their restroom breaks, then they will.
No
head
cap,
down
for
to
real,
the
for real.
access arm.
On God.
Go ahead.
Oh, the other one
Yes,
just
sir. Crew transport
got done
vehicles
taking a
clearing the
piss.
pad.
Roger.
And here they go. Butch and Sunny walking across the crew access arm to Starliner, their ride to space.
That's it.
So
and
now,
OSM proceed to south fallback. Roger.
That's the last time they're
So
gonna
now they're in
breathe
the white
fresh
room
air,
being
dude.
greeted by some of the pad team members. That's going to help them ingress into the Starliner capsule. But before they do that, you can see Butch has a Sharpie in his hand, and he is actually signing a mission patch that they have put in the white room.
It may seem like we do a lot of signing and a lot of patches, but it's important, the traditions, and not only for the crew, but for all the team that supports. So you can see all the Boeing folks there in the white room, and Sonny and Butch have worked with these folks for
Dude,
many years.
Boeing has to
and they
figure
are
out
gonna
their
do all
plane
the final
situation
checks
first, low
and
key.
get them in the spacecraft. Really, Sonny and Butch put their lives and making sure that they're ready to go in their hands. So you can see them gathering there for some words prior to getting in the spacecraft.
I love seeing this moment. Again, another opportunity for them to get together, possibly a prayer. We know that Butch is a man of faith.
Discussed in the room here, we're almost at the end of our 5-minute timer.
That's cute.
Starting flow with the oscillations. Recommendation from IFS is to resume flow and then immediately initiate a re-chill process once we have regained our topic state.
Roger. I concur. Proceed.
You can see it looks like the Butch there is taking the patches from the crew.
That's awesome. They get to go to fucking space too.
That
Low-key with the
are
crew.
helping them get suited up there in the white room, and he'll fly those patches to space and then return them to the crew members when he returns safely.
That's so cool.
And
That's pretty
simultaneously
badass.
also happening, you'll see the pad team members with different bags, and that's basically them making sure that Butch and Sonny have everything they need before they get into the Starliner.
Secure the bag alert.
Yes, you can't check too much, so you will double and triple check, and you'll have your buddy check you out as well. You want to make sure that you have everything situated just perfectly. You can see Butch there; he's hooking up the comm cord from his Chippa to his spacesuit.
And what we'll see is Butch going through the ingress process first, and then Sonny will observe from the outside here, and then it'll be her turn to go inside.
Yes, and there's a lot. You can see that the Boeing folks have suits on, have hairnets on, have gloves on, have masks on. The white room is a clean room. It's environmentally controlled. We want to make sure that the environment inside the spacecraft has the proper humidity, that there's no contamination, and it's very important that there's no dust, hairs, rocks, anything, any type of FOD that could get into the spacecraft or into the hatch. So it's important that we keep this room clean and pristine.
Right, so after they help him get his gear situated here, as you said, some FOD checks, foreign object debris, things that shouldn't be on them, go into space with them, so make sure they take them off. So you see that white pad on the floor there, Nicole, that's like a tacky mat is what they call it.
Yeah, the little sticky mat, and so if there's any debris on your shoes or your boots as you go in, that will get removed and stay on the sticky mat. You can see that they're helping Butch put on his wrists. He's got a wrist mirror as well as a wrist light that they helped put on. He also has a watch, and he has a cover that's on his watch. You can see that wrist mirror there on his right forearm.
And what do they need a light and a mirror on their forehead? Why do they need those things?
Well, really, that mirror, remember, we saw how during that leak check how Butch lowered his helmet and then zipped his helmet all the way around. So you can't by yourself see confirm that helmet is fully zipped unless you have a mirror or your buddy can look at it and see it for you. So it's really for safety of flight, and if you needed to, of course, when you're strapped in, you may have limited visibility. Of course, if you're pressurized or something, that's even exacerbated. So that mirror allows you to gain more views of the spacecraft and to check that your
Damn,
helmet is
Boeing really got $7 fucking billion for this shit, and it's 7 years late on this fucking tiny ass
As
aircraft.
Butch gets settled into his seat, let's toss it over
That's
to Lauren
insane.
and Dylan inside with the launch team to walk us through what else will happen before Sonny gets in.
Go ahead.
This time, flow's been reinitiated and a re-chill has been issued.
Roger.
Megan, thank you. We are taking a new view now. This is
Blue
from
team lead, LC.
This is from one of the 4 different views we have inside Starliner from our Mustang camera system. And this shot here, of course, is up close on our commander, Butch Wilmore. Part of the reason why he goes in first is because he is the farthest to crawl across there. So 2 different pad team members helping to get him settled in. He will sort of do a little bit of a shimmy to get perfectly
How is he gonna strap
into the
off
seat and comfortable
once he's
as
up
they
there?
start to strap him up. And you can see them working across his belt there, as well as
Yo, she had to go back out. She's like, fuck
straps
that.
on
Let me
his
go
legs.
grab
We're
some
also
breathe
seeing Sunny,
again.
walk
While
down
these
back
bozo
towards
gets in
white
there.
room now.
She's like,
LCO sound.
I would be tripping. Yeah, that's a fucking serious foreplay, dog.
step,
Fuck that.
2-4.
2.5 hours sitting in that little. I would get claustrophobic. And then you don't get to breathe anymore.
All right,
No,
back
fuck
inside
that, bro.
Starliner.
These
Again,
guys are
we
built
have,
different, dog.
These 2 pad team members who are helping Butch get settled in here. They won't start with Sunny until Butch gets completely
You
in.
gotta give me a fucking
These seats
fat
that
ass
they're in,
edible
actually,
so I
Butch
can
and
fucking.
Sunny,
Yeah,
made some
dog.
recommendations when they
You gotta
started
give me a
the
thick
process of
edible or
getting fitted into
fucking
them. They,
fat old blunt before
wanted
fucking
to
sitting
add
there.
a little bit of extra padding to
Then
their
we're
back, so
talking.
that's just one of the ways that they've been involved in making changes along the way.
And I don't smoke. That
They
goes to say.
that, you know, every little change that they make, they want their friends, the other astronauts who will fly Starliner in the future, to look back and thank them for making
bro.
this the most
That's
comfortable
wild.
and pleasant ride to space for them. Now, right in front of Butch there is the Starliner console. It is a display with a mix of screens and switches and knobs. It also has 2 hand controllers, so he'll have one down to his right as well as a one on his left. And that console has really been simplified from
Blue team lead LC on 1.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Roger, just for your essay, we are executing another Centaur Locks retail.
Yes, sir. We did notice that. I apologize for being off net briefly. I had to do a crew assist. The audible that I had reported earlier concerning the chattering sound is greatly diminished, but it is still present.
Roger.
It's greatly diminished, but it's still present.
As I was saying, the console there has really been simplified for maximum efficiency from some of the previous spacecraft that they've both been on. The shuttle had thousands of switches and indicators, but Starliner has about 85. And Butch and Sunny have told us that they really like to be able to get their hands on those switches and the hand controllers. Of course, they're both test pilots at heart, and aviation is in their blood, and so they like to be able to get their hands on it. They will be doing some manual flying about 1 hour after they are in a safe orbit, so about an hour and a half after launch. Not too far from now, they will be grabbing those hand controllers and flying Starliner. Of course, it was built to be completely autonomous, and future missions we don't expect them to ever need to take their hands onto the console, but this is a test flight, and so we are going to test out all of the capabilities of Starliner. The other seats that are in Starliner today, the 3rd and 4th seat, are filled with cargo. The 5th seat has a flat plate on it. So Sunny will sit right next to Butch, and we saw them give us a little demonstration in a press conference recently. They sat down next to each other to kind of show us how they sit in this spacecraft, and they said it was quite roomy. They had elbow room, and they could move around.
Yeah, bro, whatever makes you fucking...
example of what they've been like in previous flights where they've been a little bit tighter, so they were happy to have the extra space here.
They were tighter in other flights?
This process takes about 15 to 20 minutes to get Butch completely ingressed. But Dylan, our teams have really been working for the last few days leading up to this launch. It didn't just start in the last few hours, right?
Yeah, that's right, Lauren. So we actually rolled the rocket out to the launch pad on Saturday. And once the rocket was rolled out, we made those connections, like I said before, to all the pad utilities. So the propellant storage farms, pad power systems, the environmental control systems. And once all that was done, then we loaded the RP-1 rocket fuel onto the Atlas first stage. RP-1 is not cryogenic on Atlas V, so we are able to load
that view in Cape Canaveral.
We did that on Saturday afternoon.
Movie, dog.
And with all that work complete, we wrapped up our activities on Saturday in preparation for our launch opportunity today. So this morning we came in at 11:15, powered up the launch vehicle, started doing all of our avionics checks and all those final configurations and double checking the configuration of the pad. With all that complete, we went ahead and loaded all the cryogenic propellants on board Atlas and Centaur.
And we are seeing Sunny make a phone call right now. I think we might be able to actually see who's on the other end of that call.
LCSY on one.
Go ahead, SYS.
Step 170, L1 balloon cycle task is complete.
Roger.
So there on the left side of the screen, we are taking a look into the BMCC. And there's a bit of a surprise happening right now. Sunny is making her phone call to a man named Bill Barr. He is a Boeing employee working there in the Boeing Mission Control Center, and he is the responsible engineer for the ECLIS system, which stands for Environmental Control and Life Support System. Now, obviously, that's a very important system for flights with human on board. Just trying to see if we could see any of the reaction in the room, but I'm sure this is quite the honor and surprise for Bill. Bill is a lifetime career Boeing employee. He started with one of Boeing's heritage companies, McDonnell Douglas, in the Skylab program. His teammates told us he is one of the greatest mentors anyone could ask for. Just a great teacher, knowledgeable, kind, and incredibly patient. Couldn't hear anything better from your teammates.
Editor one is on listen to.
And we're going to start hearing some comm checks here as Butch gets connected.
Dude, the crazy part is that this guy, I think it's like standing up. I think so. Or like maybe like laying down. Because the door's like over there.
LC.
Go ahead, LC.
Roger, do you have a status update?
At this point, we're back into stable topping replenish. Still monitoring our delta P measurements in the tank, but things are looking more favorable. We'll inform you if we start seeing oscillations again.
Roger.
Houston, CDR, Starliner, from Starliner, cop check on Underground 1.
Starliner, it's Houston, loud and clear, Underground 1 for the CDR.
All right, good comms check there. Those comms are connected through the umbilical on his torso. We mentioned that when they were ready to suit up.
Power C10 Bravo.
Starliner, Houston, Arizona 1, we copy, ready for Bravo on the ECLIS control tower panel. You can take suit fan Bravo to ON.
Suit fan Bravo's coming on.
All right, so you just heard that call there. They are turning the suit fan on. And it looks like they're actually a little bit ahead of schedule here. This is something we were expecting to happen in about 7 minutes. So running pretty efficient today, and they will be, doing their best to see how quickly they can get this done, because of course we'll have 4 or more astronauts on future missions.
Oh yeah, right, gravity. I see the tags now.
When they have the suit fan on, that system routes air from the cabin back into the suit. So that's what they're testing out right now.
I guess they're ahead of schedule too, so maybe.
You can see Butch has some paper procedures in his lap. He will use paper procedures until they get up into orbit. And then once they get up there, they will have tablets they pull out with the rest of their procedures.
I wonder what kind of tablets they're using.
They also have procedures strategically placed in a few other
Probably,
positions.
right? Surface
they
Pro.
have a knee board with procedures, as well as they have a pretty cool arm strap that sort of looks like what a quarterback for a pro football team would wear, if you've ever seen that. It has a laminated flap on it, and they can put procedures in there so they can just look down at their arm.
So, Lauren, I believe Butch did play football, right?
He did. Yeah, college football player. So
Oh, shit.
he may be used to seeing those.
Yeah.
There's not much Butch can't do. I'll tell you that. The spacecraft is about 15 feet across inside, so quite spacious. I like to compare it to about a mid-size SUV.
Mid-size SUV?
One of the tests that will be happening once they get up to the space station is called the Safe Haven test, and it's one of our flight test objectives. And they will actually pull in a couple of the astronauts who are already on the space station into Starliner with them and go through some procedures to be able to prove that Starliner could actually provide them sort of a lifeboat if they ever needed it, if there was a problem on the ISS. So we'll get a chance to see probably about 4 astronauts in there during that time.
Whoa. 4 people fit in there? Well, technically, yeah, because it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Just putting him in. 1, 2, 3 with him, then 4. Yeah.
These seats that they're in are built to accommodate a range of heights as small as 4'11" all the way up to 6'4". So if you had any preconceived notions about what size you have to be an astronaut, not in this case. We will be able to fit all sizes. Sunny talks a lot about that too in the suit fits that they've done, that they've been able to, the suit checks that they've done, they've been able to make sure that they can accommodate all sizes.
Houston Starliner, we are ready to perform synchro sleep check.
Starliner Houston, we copy, ready for suit gross leak check. CDR, we're ready.
All right, so that call there for the suit gross leak check, that is to check for any leaks in Butch's spacesuit. Now, the word gross is used in this situation to mean any significant or easily detectable leak that could compromise the integrity of the suit. It sounds a little funny, but it is a word that we're very used to in spaceflight. They'll be able to tell pretty quickly if there was a leak in the spacesuit. Once they inflate it, those pad team members will push on their arms and make sure that there's no air coming out. These suits are about 40% lighter than suits they've worn in the past. And Dylan, I've even tried on their gloves, and you would be amazed at how much you can move around in them, what all you can do in them. Of course, the fingertips you can use the tablets with, but I was really surprised at just how flexible they were. It's starting to get darker over Space Launch Complex 41.
Leak check on CDR.
Houston, copy the good gross suit leak check on the CDR. Thanks.
Good gross leak check. Good news there. You know, Butch is a former flight test instructor at Edwards Air Force Base. He has a Master of Science in Aviation Systems. So let's listen to a little bit more on this retired U.S. Navy captain and CFT commander, Butch Wilmore.
A large part of the desire within us is to do things that are of benefit to others. In this job, we get to do things that are of benefit truly for all mankind as we explore the heavens that not many people get to experience, true, but we don't go just to get the experience. It's about the team and it's about the benefit that it brings. My name is Butch Wilmore, and I am the commander for NASA's Boeing Crew Flight Test Mission to the International Space Station. Life in Tennessee, God's country. That's where I grew up. Very fortunate, had loving parents, took us to church. When I was young, 7 years old, I believe, they bought a little land out in the country, 6 acres or so. We had horses and cows, and I raised chickens and ducks and just enjoyed life in the country. I went to Tennessee Tech, started working on an electrical engineering degree, and played football, which was a very difficult combination, I learned, because they're both full-time jobs. So it was a lot of effort over those years, but it molded me and it helped instill the work ethic my parents had instilled in me when I was younger. I entered the Navy and was fortunate to fly the A-7E. It was a single-seat attack aircraft, and I flew that for a couple of deployments. And then I transitioned to the F-18 Hornet, and through that process, was selected in the test pilot program. You learn a lot about yourself as you go through test pilot school, where you're lacking in certain capabilities that are necessary to do a test pilot type of job. When it comes to flight test, the minute details matter. When we're doing our runs, hey, well, let's run it this way. Let's do it that way. Let's add this in. Let's take that out. And let's look at it in that regime so we can see how the spacecraft responds. And that's what you do with aircraft, that's what you do with spacecraft, and that's what this test is all about. This crew flight test is a series of these various tests to ensure that the operational requirements and the design meets those requirements. And I think everybody that does flight tests would agree. Focus, understanding, and also the team coming together to give you the overall understanding of the test and the capabilities of the spacecraft or aircraft that you're testing is vital. Sitting in this seat over here in the Starliner sim and doing the things we've done and learning about the spacecraft, developing a lot of the capabilities of the spacecraft, it's very humbling when you see and you interact with some of these professionals, and our human spaceflight and our nation has a debt of gratitude to them. Every single training evolution we have is brand new. We're the first to do it. Whether it is checking the survival equipment in the pool with a mock-up of the spacecraft and how you egress, get out of the spacecraft, whether it's the side hatch or the upper hatch, while the seas are rough and all those type of things. There's a thought of how things should be, but then there's the reality of how things need to be. And that's what this test is all. Everything we do is test. It's been a process over years that is such a benefit in all aspects of the capabilities of this spacecraft. And we're excited to be a part of it.
We are excited to be a part of it as well. As they are starting to finish up with Butch, one of the things that was really important to him was to take the name tags of every single one of the pad team members up to space with them. Now, this is a tradition that dates back to shuttle, but typically they would take just 2 name tags, the 2 folks that are working with them there in the spacecraft, but something he really wanted to do was take the name tags of all of them. So pretty special honor for those folks in the pad team. Now, Dylan, what's been going on with ULA as we've been focused here on the crew? There's a lot going on in the background.
Well, Lauren, that's right. So there's a couple of things going on down in the control room. As there has been some conversation on the net that folks would have heard, the propulsion team is actually active, kind of maintaining the propellant levels in the cryogenic propellant tanks, and that'll continue right up until we enter the terminal count. Our avionics testing is all complete for the day, so it's relatively quiet on avionics row at the moment. The launch conductor and his team are going to be listening very closely to all the activities on the pad, and we've heard some of that communication between LC and the blue team lead as they report back and forth on the activities that are up on the crew access tower right now. And as part of that, the ULA and the range safety team are also monitoring all of the activities as well with a keen eye on safety. So the team is staying busy downstairs, but for the most part, from a rocket processing perspective, the rocket's fully fueled and ready to go. So we'll just be waiting on loading our crew today, and then once the Starliner is all closed out, then our team will pick back up with those final preparations for launch. But for now, for the most part, the ULA team is kind of just in a monitor mode, just maintaining readiness for our instantaneous window today.
And for anyone who may be just joining us, I just wanted to let you all know at home, we are wearing headsets and listening to a lot of the chatter that's going on in the background. So you are hearing some of the public communications that are going across the loops, but we're also hearing some other things through our headsets. So it's our job to listen to those things and be able to translate them to you as they happen. So again, we are watching Commander Butch Wilmore get ingressed or entered into Starliner, and we are watching the pad team go through some of those procedures. One of the things I really wanted to mention about the seats is, some people might not realize that they're actually sort of laying on their back in this position. And
they finally answered my question.
Tells a
Even the
story
rule I
about
pointed
it,
out.
that they were both on shuttle, and
I shall say
landed
Taro
with them
Bobaro.
sitting in sort of like a chair, like you would sit in a chair. And that, they studied the impacts over the years, and that it actually is safer and more comfortable to land on your back. So that's why they're in this position. Of course, once they get up into space, it won't make a difference, of course, but they are on their backs right now. So it looks like we are starting to see Sunny make her way into Starliner.
Sunny inside Starliner. She is to Butch's right. So Butch is closest to us on screen here, and then to his right is Sunny getting into the pilot seat. And Nicole,
she's the pilot?
She's actually getting in a lot earlier than we were expecting. The pad team has until an hour and 55 minutes before launch to finish ingressing both crew members. And look where we are. Sunny getting into her seat 2 hours 27 minutes before launch, and crew ingress usually for each person takes 15 to 20 minutes. So really, all the math that I just said means they're ahead.
Yes, and that is all goodness. As I mentioned in the suit room, we do have some pad to the numbers just in case you need to troubleshoot something. So, say for example, as Sunny's going to get strapped into the spacecraft, if one of the buckles breaks or if something is twisted and we need some extra time, since it's an instantaneous launch window, the last thing you want is something silly like that, something that we can fix, have the launch be scrubbed. So we do have this time built in for troubleshooting, and if everything goes smoothly like it is so far, then you'll see the crew ahead of schedule. This is also a great point to this being a first developmental test flight. This is the first time we're running through these procedures in a real spacecraft on a real launch day. So we'll learn a lot, and in the future, when there's more than two people in the spacecraft, we'll be able to recognize some of those efficiencies.
Yeah, and this is a great view, actually. So we have several views inside of Starliner. There's 4 camera views. There's someone in Houston who's monitoring, which camera view gives all of the teams monitoring this launch the best views. And this one is a really great view. We see 2 pad team members helping Sunny get in, helping with her 5-point harness, as well as getting her leg and knee restraints on, right, Nicole?
Yes, you have your feet that are strapped in. You can see those white straps on the top of Sunny's feet. You're also going to have your knee board strapped in. You want to make sure that all of your comm is connected properly, and then they will do comm checks with each other as well. And you can see on Butch's left knee there, he has those paper checklists. Those are also tethered down. And so every, through many hours, hundreds of hours of simulation, you figure out what works for you, exactly where you want everything. And so it's important on day of launch that you have everything set up just as you have trained.
Again, the astronauts Sunny going through the same procedures that Butch just went through. Also something that we'll see them do are reach checks, right? Because we are buckling them down so that they're comfortable and safe, but we need to make sure that they can reach all of the things that they need to reach during their flight.
Absolutely, and of course they've done that in training and on mission dress rehearsal, but again, you want to double check. And day of launch, you want to make sure maybe if you have something snagged that's going to hinder your reach, that could affect the mission. So we go through all those final checks one more time before the launch countdown continues.
And coming up soon, so that we all know to look for it, we expect Sunny to reveal their zero gravity indicator. Usually it's a soft toy a crew picks to fly with them, and once that toy begins to float, it's a visual indicator, right, that they have reached the weightlessness of microgravity, because we just said they're buckled in, and really nothing else should be floating around except for that zero gravity indicator.
Yes, it's a great way to show that you've reached microgravity. Unfortunately, the camera views for Starliner, when it's in free flight, will not be transmitted back down to the ground real time. They'll be recorded, but not real time back down to the ground. So Sunny will introduce this here on Earth.
And what we're showing you now is a kind of toothed whale, and that's a male narwhal. A narwhal, as you can see there, we're showing you because that is the 0G indicator that Sunny chose with the help of her niece and nephew. Sunny wanted to choose an indicator that raised awareness for how space and ocean research go together. Obviously, we've been talking about how Sunny's really passionate about our oceans. So this particular narwhal toy that you saw Sunny holding in that picture coincidentally was named Calypso, which happens to be the name of today's Starliner spacecraft, which Sunny named in 2019. And she named it Calypso to pay homage to the explorer Jacques Cousteau. He sailed his ship named Calypso all over the world to teach people about the ocean. You see Mr. Cousteau right there. Now, Sunny believes Starliner will do the same for space, again, teaching people about space. And remember, Sunny wasn't supposed to fly on the spacecraft. She was initially assigned as the commander of Starliner 1, the first post-certification mission, as we've been mentioning. But she was later reassigned to CFT and feels it's an honor to fly on the spacecraft she named. So really, the stars all aligned for her to be on this flight test today.
She did. I think that's very special. I remember we were there all for the OFT landing when Butch revealed, or when Sunny revealed the name Calypso.
Yep, back in 2019. So look out for that zero gravity indicator. She had it in one of the bags that they're putting onto her, and so at some point when she's settled into her seat there, she will take it out. And then one of the pad team members will tether that indicator somewhere to the spacecraft again so we can see it free-floating when they reach microgravity.
And they have quite a few bags and satchels that are on their legs, or their right side pocket is a blue pocket, and then there they'll have any type of anything they need to get to in flight, so any medication or maybe a tissue or pens and pencils. And then they have a gray bag that's on their right shin pocket that has their emergency equipment, some food, emergency water, a whistle, a signaling mirror. And then on their left shin pocket, they'll have some personal items and their glasses if they need them, as well as a dosimeter.
And I want to go back to something you mentioned. You were mentioning the camera views inside of Starliner. So yes, we do have several camera views inside Starliner, and we will have those views all the way until launch. So we will get to keep our eyes on the crew all the way down to T0. Now I want to mention some of the pad team members that we have here.
Starliner Houston, we have you loud and clear, ready to go 1 for the PLT.
Got you loud and clear as well.
So comm checks again between Sunny and Houston. It's part of the ingressing process, right? They get into the Starliner spacecraft, they get buckled in, then they do these comm checks with Houston. They do comm. Is out of Starliner before they close the hatch and get ready for liftoff.
Absolutely. They'll do one last check with the crew, and the crew is also, their displays are on, and so they're able to see the telemetry on the displays and check their systems, which I know, Butch was personally very excited about, and I agree with him. Seeing the actual data on the actual spacecraft is quite different than what you see in the simulator. Hopefully it matches very, very closely, and I'm sure that it does, but on launch day, it's real data, and so it's always interesting, something you want to take the time to walk through all of your subsystems.
Yeah, the last time Sunny and Butch were in Starliner was a little over a week ago. They were doing another rehearsal for today, and when asked how it felt, Sunny said it felt like they're where they're meant to be. It felt like coming home. And Butch is the one who said he can't wait to get in there and see real data and telemetry. So I'm sure he's excited but also focused.
Absolutely. I remember thinking at this moment when I launched it felt so much like a training evolution. And I think that's a testament to how well the teams do in preparing for launch. We run through and rehearse everything, and that's a very comforting feeling because you have a lot on your mind and you want everything to go smoothly.
Throughout the broadcast, we've been hearing about each of their backgrounds. Both are test pilots, and both have said that that background in particular has really helped them with this mission. Butch said our backgrounds are why we're here. And again, Sonny giving a lot of credit to Butch, saying he's always asking why, and it's really been helpful, especially in a test flight.
Especially in a developmental test flight, there is so much to learn, and everybody is working together. But when you have that integrated spacecraft, how those systems come together, especially during an anomaly, is something that takes a lot of trial and learning as you go through that process. And so both of their backgrounds as test pilots have been absolutely instrumental in the development of Starliner.
So coming up next, the suit gross leak checks on Sonny. You know, Nicole, we know that we might have some new viewers that might not have seen Butch's ingressing and his suit leak checks. So let's talk again about what that is and how that's accomplished. It's basically the same suit leak checks we saw, or essentially the same suit leak checks we saw in the suit up room, right?
Yes, it's the same, except for you're plugged into the actual spacecraft. So you have the cabin fans providing that air, but you close your visor, zip the visor, and then increase the pressure of your suit. And we're really checking to make sure there's no leaks. So if you didn't get that zipper all the way zipped, or if there was, some hair caught in.
Bro, what the fuck happened with the broadcast?
Once lived underwater for 9 days while working within the robotics branch of the International Space Station. Did you know that, Nicole?
Yes, I think she was a part of the NEMO mission, which is a space analog. We have different types of missions, some underwater, some in caves, believe it or not, where we are working together with a small group, executing science in a mission, but at the same time we're working on those expeditionary skills, living and working together as a team, which are a really important aspect to human spaceflight.
Check of the clock, 2 hours, 13 minutes and counting until liftoff of NASA's Boeing crew flight test. Again, just want to spend another moment to call attention to the left side of the screen here and just that beautiful shot that we have of Starliner and Atlas V. Thank you for bringing it up full screen because it is really a great shot. Nicole just turned around. It's directly behind us here at the host desk. Just to take this moment in.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Sunset happening just about 20 minutes ago here on Florida's Space Coast. I mentioned this before, that things right now are looking good. The pad team had until 1 hour and 55 minutes to ingress the crew.
All right, there we go.
We just heard that comm communication from Sunny there.
Looks like she was maybe troubleshooting a little something there with her suit. And so, again, that's why we have some additional time built into the schedule so that any type of issue, we have time to work through that and we don't feel rushed really in the process. You know, you want to make sure you have everything right. Safety is at the forefront of everybody's mind.
Copy. Let me know when you're ready to do contact.
Tech 5, you are now on air to ground 1.
PLT, Tech 5 on air to ground 1. How do you read me? Okay, I do not hear you. Do you hear me? Contact.
Air to ground 1, I got you loud and clear for PLT.
Copy, copy. I got you loud and clear on air to ground 1. Let's go air to ground 2 contact again. Tech 5.
Air to ground 1 is one channel, one way of communicating. Air to ground 2 is a secondary line as well. Again, you've heard our commentators mentioning that they're monitoring, listening to the launch teams who are working this mission. We have some loops up publicly for you guys to listen in and to track how the countdown is progressing. And then there are some other side channels that a lot of work is also done in the background as well.
PLT, the first leak check is complete.
Starliner, it's Houston. We copy gross suit leak check complete on the PLT, and I have you loud and clear, Sunny, here on air to ground 1.
Okay, I got you loud and clear as well.
All right, 2 good call-outs there. Successful communication check with Houston between Sunny, as well as a good check of her suit, making sure that it holds pressure as expected.
L minus 2 hours, 10 minutes.
ECS, Elsie.
Tech 5, you're back on air to ground 1.
ECS?
All right, PLT.
So
So we confirm that you guys are
170
airflow
pounds
with
per minute.
correct?
Roger.
PLT, you can open your visor now.
All right, with Sunny opening her visor after a successful...
PLT, perform comp check on ICOM with CDR.
That's a command to do a communication check between Sunny and Butch. And while they do that, why don't we hear more about Sunny's journey to this moment right now?
Williams, and I'm the pilot for NASA's Boeing Crew Flight Test Mission to the International Space Station. I feel really lucky to have grown up in a small town outside of Boston, Needham, Massachusetts. It was a great town because we were able to ride our bikes everywhere we went. My brother, sister, and I, we were all swimmers, and it was just a great childhood. My dad was a doctor and also did neuroscience research. We were the strange family who had pictures and diagrams of brains on our dining room table. My older brother went to the Naval Academy. I started researching a little bit, and I thought, well, what the heck, I'll try this out. And when I went, I found that I really loved it. Teamwork, followership, leadership, those opportunities that we had right from the very beginning, and to accomplish something a little bit bigger than yourself. And I think that paved the way for the rest of my career. Got a basic engineering degree from the Naval Academy. I really didn't know what it was all about when I went through that course curriculum, but when I went to test pilot school, all of that stuff sort of gelled together. I was like, oh wow, this is why we do math modeling. This is how we try to predict how change in an engine is going to affect the way the helicopter flies. Time on the International Space Station is priceless. People always ask, do you get bored, or, is it terrible being up there for a long period of time? And for me, I loved every minute. There was always something to do. You wake up, you look at your timeline like, wow, I got to do this experiment today. I got to get ready for a spacewalk. Every day was different. And just life on the space station becomes routine, which is sort of crazy to think about it. At one point in time on my first mission, I was like, I don't even remember really what it's like to walk. I've been flying around for so long, I don't even know what it's like to sit down. I got assigned to the commercial crew cadre in 2015. We went to the companies, found out the shell of their programs, and then actually started working with them to make them what they are today to accommodate astronauts. For Starliner, we've been heavily involved in the last couple of years in the software with the folks doing the development to make sure its capability will allow us to come home. And we've been involved with all the suit development, making sure every different size of person could fit in all these suits and they could operate the spacecraft adequately. We've had our fingers on every single procedure that we work inside the cockpit, as well as operated it with our mission control team to make sure that everything that future crews will do will be right. We haven't had the classic training as we had for Shuttle and Soyuz. We've sort of helped develop the training as well as the hardware. And this is sort of the shape of things to come as we get ready to go back to the moon. All of that is going to be developmental, and we're going to have the same mindset. It's not already established. We all have to be part of this big team to help develop it and make sure that integration, as the astronauts use all this equipment, is going to be top-notch and ready to take us even further.
2 hours, 6 minutes and counting until liftoff of CFT. Both Butch and Sunny inside Starliner, which is sitting on top of a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station's Launch Pad 41. As you can see, we still have a pad team member in there. Looks like they're still helping either Sunny with something or, again, just readying the spacecraft for launch.
It's interesting because the spacecraft is made for microgravity, and so actually you can't stand on the floor of the spacecraft, and so there's some special flooring pieces that are installed so that the pad team can walk around without damaging any of the components of the spacecraft and help get the astronauts strapped in. So I know as one of their final checks, they'll remove that specialized flooring and check the configuration inside of the spacecraft. As you mentioned, to get everything out that doesn't need to go to space.
Oh, there it is. It looks like they have taken the narwhal out, and they are finding a place to tether it. Maybe I'm just imagining it because I can't really see Sunny's face, but she looks happy to see the narwhal out. Again, a special zero-gravity indicator that she picked with her niece and nephew.
Pad, you are now on air-to-ground 1. Copy.
Starliner crew, is there anything else you need help with before we leave and close the hatch?
waiting to hear if Butch and Sonny say anything over the loops.
Sounds like strapping, everything went well. And you weren't imagining, I did see a smile on Sonny's face, and
Perfect.
I could see Norval tethered there in the middle.
And again, I love that comm check again to say they're friends. Dee, you've been saying this throughout the broadcast, really, but Butch and Sonny have been working so closely with everyone who is needed to make this mission possible that they kind of all just feel like family.
Absolutely. You know, we've been working with them for years. They've been a part of, just as Nicole mentioned, all of the processes, all of the training, making sure that the spacecraft works as it is supposed to. And, of course, now they're both on this flight test where they're going to do this mission and confirm that. So, you know, we have gotten very, very close with them, and this is an exciting moment for us to see this, and looking forward to seeing them lift off and begin this mission.
You know, it's interesting because you think of, you know, Butch and Sonny, of course, are the astronauts on top of the rocket right now and the ones going to space, but they really do represent, you know, that huge family of NASA and Boeing and everybody that's worked so hard to get to this point.
Go ahead, AC.
Okay, evaluating the SRB, we're most likely getting above the qual cycles of this valve. We still have 2+ hours to go, so most likely exceeding the qual value. We do not have a path to proceed further at this point.
Roger. So at this point, your recommendation is to secure operations for today?
That is correct.
Roger. LD, LC on Channel 1.
Yes, sir. LD concurs with that.
Roger. Flight and Slick, Channel 1.
Flight here. Slick's on Channel 1.
Yeah, Roger. So the engineering team has evaluated the vehicle is not in a configuration where we can proceed with flight today. So we're going to initiate our scrub and recycle operation.
Roger. Flight copies.
Roger.
And if you're just joining us, I'll look at the clock
Well,
here.
personnel, this is LC on Channel 1. Let's turn to page 187, scrub crew egress operations.
Again, the clock 2 hours ahead of what we were targeting, a 10:34 and 14-second p.m. Eastern Time liftoff. But you just heard from the launch team that we are scrubbing
OSM,
for today.
LC.
OSM, go ahead, sir.
Establish the BDA roadblocks and open the flight hazard area.
Roger.
Wait, they're scrubbing?
Channel 1
What does that mean?
We'll be starting an estimated 65-minute hold at this time for flight crew egress. All systems maintain T-4 configuration.
Chat, what does that mean?
As we hear some communication between
What does it mean they're
team
scrubbing?
members, let's get it over to ULA's Dylan Rice to walk us through what we know so far and what we can expect moving forward today.
Thanks, Megan. So the team has had some observations on an oxygen relief valve on our Centaur second stage, and the team is just not comfortable with the signatures that they're seeing, the response out of that valve, and so out of an abundance of caution, we are not going to continue with our launch operations today. And as you heard, the Chief Launch Conductor Doug Lebo call the team there and have the team prepare for scrub operations.
Yo, Elon Musk is gonna shit on them.
From Starliner. So next steps, the team is going to be maintaining the configuration of the rocket, and we'll begin the process of egressing the crew. And once the crew is egressed and the blue team is safely left the pad, At that point, we'll begin detanking the rocket and securing for the evening so that teams can continue to review data and troubleshoot the signature noted with the valve on board Centaur.
Channel 1. Disappointing.
Go ahead, sir.
Sunny,
Yes, sir. So
you
may have heard on Channel 1 we're standing down for today. So start and initiate getting the vehicle in configuration to egress the crew.
Roger, Wilco.
So I was saying, Sunny even said, nothing special about this date on the calendar. We will go when we're ready. Not today, but we'll try this again. So a lot of what's going to be happening now is sort of what we've seen happen up to this point, just in reverse.
Right, and again, this decision was not made lightly, but really out of an abundance of caution. We say that the rocket business is a business of 10 million details, and only when all 10 million details are correct and where you want them to be do you let your rocket fly. So for today, we're going to go back and
Slick LC Channel 1.
LC, you have Slick.
Yeah, Roger. So I'll rely on you timing-wise to let me know when you're ready for the CTV convoy to return to pad.
Yep, I was working that right now.
Roger.
So again, for now, we'll be maintaining the configuration of the launch vehicle until the crew and the blue team have exited the area, and at that point, we'll begin detanking and securing the launch vehicle for the evening. So for now, I think we'll turn it back over to Megan at the host desk.
Thank you, Dylan. Again, just a recap for folks, about 4 minutes ago, the launch team decided to stand down from the launch attempt today. Dylan noting for us that the ULA folks and the launch team, they decided to, out of an abundance of caution, to stand down because they saw something off nominal with an oxygen release. Astronaut crew quarters. Now, Nicole, walk us through what we expect to see. There are obviously procedures in place for this exact thing, if needed.
Absolutely, and this is trained and rehearsed multiple times as well, and so ULA will make sure the rocket is in a good state, and they will follow their procedures. As far as the crew specifically, since the hatch wasn't closed and ordnance wasn't armed, it's quite simple for the crew. They'll wait for some call-outs to make sure
actually,
that
I'll
the
just start a new
spacecraft in
stream
good
when
config.
Vitaly goes.